Hi, my name is Matt Witkowski. I'm the director of the Community Ministries program here at Trinity United Methodist Church, and I'm here with one of our volunteers, Bella, who's volunteered with us for a few years, and we just wanted to have a conversation to let you know a little bit more about Bella and a little bit more about our program. So, hi, Bella. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Give a little bit of background about college and what you're doing now.
All right. So my name's Isabella Purosky, but I go by Bella. I graduated from Grand Valley State University. I got 2 degrees there. I got a BA in music and a BS in biochemistry. Currently, I am teaching at Grand Valley as a chemistry professor chemistry lab professor, and I work at Pine Rest Mental Health.
And did you have any specific honors given to you at GVSU that you might want to mention?
Actually, in my senior year at Grand Valley, I received the Most Outstanding Undergraduate Award, the Niemeyer Award. So I did do that.
All right. How long have you been volunteering with the Community Ministries program?
I have volunteered with the Community Ministries program since fall 2017, so about five-ish years.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit, what brings you back week to week, year after year? What about this program that you enjoy?
The kids. The kids bring me back every single time. They're a joy to work with, and I love watching them grow up and seeing how they keep developing throughout the years, because there's a lot of them that start out when they're in 2nd or 3rd grade, and then you see them grow into themselves once they hit 5th grade, and even beyond when they have the upper
transitions program.
Yeah, the transitions program. You see them not as much, but you still see them, and it's I know where you started.
Right.
It's
absolutely. Is there one specific, if we were thinking back, you've been there 5 years, so there might be more of these. Is there one specific activity or something like that sticks out in your mind?
Definitely. I think it was the very first activity I did in 2017 with the Apple launching in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was the most Community Ministries thing, where it was super fun, but the kids did a lot of actual life stuff, or not life stuff, but school stuff, where it's they don't realize they're doing school, but they are. They're measuring the length of how far they launched those apples, but they think it's the coolest thing ever. So it was hiding that learning aspect within something that was really cool, because who doesn't love launching apples at Targets in the parking lot?
I think one of the unique things about that is we created a Catapult, and that Catapult we named Ish, as it worked ish, and some different things that way. But it was to me, it was one of those things that we were able to do things that a teacher in a classroom couldn't do. I always say we do boom and poof. We do, if we can find ways to have zip lines in the sanctuary or drop eggs from the 3rd story balcony in the church, we'll do those kind of things, because it's a little bit more than what can happen in a classroom. So I agree. I think that was a really cool activity that we did. Can you tell us about a specific student or somebody that kind of comes to your mind of, you've talked about watching them develop and grow, and maybe an instance or two with a student that you really thought that was a really cool moment through our program?
It's more specifically a student that I watched develop, where I remember when they first showed up to Trinity or Community Ministries, and they were, I don't want to say handful, but they were a handful. They didn't want to listen. They wanted to basically oppose us in every way possible. I remember we were walking there was something with painted rocks in the nearby park, where we were it was more of a scavenger hunt to find painted rocks, and they refused to walk. They just sat down on the pavement. They refused to go. So we had to sit with them while we also had the whole big group. And I remember that specific moment. But as they grew along, they've developed so much more. I ended up tutoring them, and so I was on them one-on-one a lot, and just watching them develop into who they are and kind of grow out of that. Even that was huge. It was just a huge full circle bring around for them.
And we've had that in our history where a kid comes and they're not used to a structure or a format, and working within the program and putting caring adults and volunteers around them, they get to see the structure and get to see some of that stuff, and then you see the growth that happens.
Yeah.
And I agree, to me that's something that's really unique to see happen there. So this might be a similar answer, but to build on it, why is the work that Community Ministries does important?
It really, like, it does more than just, like, bring a group of kids together. Like, it's a lot, we like to help develop them with life skills and social skills. And, like, they don't even realize it, though. That's the best part, because no kid wants to sit down and just learn these things. But we kind of incorporate that with the structure we have. Like, when we have meals together, we make sure we're using manners and we are having conversations at the table and we're not sitting on our phones. Like, we don't allow phones. So it's like providing that, like, life skill and social skill that's, like, super important that like maybe they don't get at home. And it's like a structure that we provide for them, even if it's just one day a week.
Right.
But they're also, with, like, the Apple launching challenge, like, they're learning school stuff too. So it's like they're learning so much, but they don't even realize it. They just see it as, like, a fun activity. And I think that's, like, the best part of Trinity is, like, it's all, like, hidden in it. So they don't even know, because no kid's gonna be like, oh, let's sit down and learn math. Like, they're gonna be like, good, let's learn some math. Like, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna have kids rebelling and not paying attention. But, like, here, they are always paying attention because they're excited to do what's next. Yep. They're excited to do these things. They're excited for the science projects, even though they're not realizing they're learning.
One example is we did the metric Olympics. And so you'd think about it as, we had paper straw challenge where you would blow the paper off of a straw, but you had to measure it. And you would throw a plastic plate, but you had to, as like a discus, but you had to measure it. And then you learned about the country that you were representing, and you learned there's all different things within that. So I agree, that hidden learning, especially science, has always been a really popular one, that if we can help one kid think science is a little bit cooler, or at least not be afraid of it, then down the road, that might be leading into a career of science. That might be leading into a career of math if they find something they're good at. One specific child, too, struggled with reading quite a bit. And, we've worked with them, the school's worked with them, and we've got a good relationship. But the kid did have a talent when it came to math and picking things up faster. And I think being able to see the confidence in a child finding something they were good at when maybe they're not always told of those things, that was really cool to see. You saw a kid blossom a little bit there, which was really neat. So next question. So when you started in the program 5 years ago, if you could kind of talk about your experience coming in with not having any ties to the church. You were a freshman at school, so at GVSU. So kind of talk about comfort level with the kids, comfort level in your role in the activities, and then kind of how your role has changed over time.
Well, I can definitely say I was extremely nervous when I first came in, because I was like my first not my first regular volunteering, but it was a different kind of volunteering that I've done in the past. And I remember not knowing where to park, not knowing who these people are. I'm going to walk in and I have to, somewhat be comfortable for these kids. So I remember just being extremely nervous for that first day. But the volunteers here are fantastic, and they make you feel comfortable automatically. They're probably the sweetest people I've ever met. So it's like I immediately was feeling comfortable. And I've always worked with kids, so like the kids, like I wasn't super nervous working with them, because kids will be kids. They'll mouth off, or they won't listen, or they won't pay attention. And it's knowing how to combat that. So like I already had that in my wheelhouse. It was just more of like the other volunteers, like, will I be okay with them? Is it going to be comfortable? And it just feels like a big family now. Like I see them, and we all just know everything about each other. So like we're always asking each other questions and stuff. So it feels like a family here. So I always love coming back. Great.
So one of the coolest things as a director of the program, I remember your first day. And I remember every time we get new volunteers when they come in, it's a daunting experience because you don't have those connections. If you're within the church, you might, but we get new people in the church even who start that. And it's so cool to see the friendships and relationships develop just over time with other volunteers, with you and I, being able to be a reference for different jobs that you've gone for, seeing and being able to provide, insight, or if you had a question on something, or, sometimes we'd ask you to do a little bit more than a volunteer, but seeing you stand up to those roles and really take those things on, that's to me is a really cool thing that, you're right. When people walk in, after they get comfortable and they start to get connected with the other people, the friendships really grow. And that's been a really important part of the program, because not only we're working with the kids, it's a small group for adults as well. And that's, I think that sometimes people don't realize how important that is for just our overall health and connectedness as people too. So I think it's really cool to watch from my seat to see those relationships develop when people didn't have that connection before.
The dynamics with adults is super important with kids too.
Right.
We all have to trust each other and
model,
coordinate each other.
Yep.
Because we have to all be on the same page. Sometimes with not even verbalizing, if something's going on, I could just look at you in the eyes and
right.
to help out. I would just give you the eyes.
Right.
But we all know, or I do it to Larry or Rich, and they know that, hey, I need some backup
right.
here.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it was that was super important to having that connection, to be able to trust them enough to not even be able to have to verbalize things, just know each other well enough to just.
That's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely.
SOS.
So you've brought other people to the program, other volunteers to the program. Talk to me about, what do you tell somebody that doesn't have a connection with the program, why they should get involved?
I usually tell them that it's a fantastic opportunity to work with kids. It's a different opportunity. You're not just tutoring kids. You're not just going to a daycare. You are being a person for these kids, a structure for these kids. And it's a huge, it's an important role. And it's an opportunity to have that relationship with kids. You're not just seeing them once, you're seeing them over and over and over again. So I kind of just always explain, this is more than just volunteering. This is it doesn't feel like volunteering really. It feels like you're just coming home to a family.
Right.
You're just helping these kids grow.
Right.
Because even you have really close relationships with some of these kids too. You've taken fishing and stuff.
Yep.
It's more than just a program.
Yep.
So it's it's a different kind of volunteering in my eyes. And I feel
it's real hands-on.
more rewarding too.
Yeah, very hands-on, not just same old. Every week it's something different, which I think keeps volunteers engaged, but it also keeps the kids not knowing what's kind of happening.
And the families, we involve the families. We have their Christmas parties. Those are some of my favorite moments, seeing all the families, seeing them watch their kids open gifts. Or we do what else? I'm trying to think of other things that we've done with families. Oh, we've done the meals we've provided our families. When we had COVID and we still provided meals, but we provided meals for the entire family, not just the kids. It's so much more integrated than.
An amount of conversations that happen during the week, or when a kid's having struggles at school, it's not just a Wednesday night program for the transitions program or the community kids club. It's a relationship. That's a good point, is these relationships with families aren't just once a week. We advocate for the students. We work with the school to, if they're having an issue, to be able to, help here to be able to work and know that everybody's involved in that aspect of it.
We do extra tutoring because the parents said they're struggling with this, and you've coordinated with the principal and their teachers, and we find out what they need help on most, and then we are able to find volunteers to help tutor that and provide that. So it's more than just Wednesday.
Yep, absolutely. So in 2021, your role changed a little bit as a volunteer. We kind of asked you to step up because you have been so committed and here and such a rock star for us, which is awesome. We asked you to be part of the leadership team. And if you can talk a little bit about what that, we haven't done a ton since, you're kind of newer to that role.
Yeah.
But just talk a little bit about what you've seen with that or what that means, I guess.
It's definitely like more of me providing my input and my advice and kind of like going into more of a leadership role in the actual Wednesday nights where I'm coordinating what kids are going to what groups and also figuring out like how we're going to begin and end the day and stuff like that. So it's been good. Like I almost felt like it was a very natural kind of bring it. I felt like I was kind of almost doing that beforehand, and it was kind of more of like it was very smooth transition. Like I felt like it wasn't very different, and it wasn't like nerve-wracking or anything. It was just more providing my input and my opinions that matters.
And I would say that's exactly why we did it, because we saw that you were already doing that in some roles. Is we wanted to not only give credit to the work that you've done above and beyond, but it's also that input from somebody who's committed. From the unique thing to us is you're from outside the church. You're somebody who found our program and has been committed to it throughout. So finding a way to just be able to honor that you have a say in this. And when we decide if some emergency comes up with COVID, you're one of the emails that we really email to say, hey, I need opinions on what we should do on these kind of things, or what direction should we go? We have a project and we're trying to figure it out. What's your input? To me, we were recognizing that, and we wanted to recognize you for that, to say you've done a lot of things in that leadership role. And especially as you go on in the future, that's something you can put on a resume for a position that you can do with some of that stuff too, which, I think as a young person and a growing professional, those are things that are helpful, and I'm not going to say your next question, I'll tell you that in a second, but, but those are helpful as you start to do some more things in your future. So, our final question is, what are your future plans, and how does working with the Community Ministries program help you reach those goals?
So my future plans right now is I start medical school at Michigan State University College of Human Medicine. So I am starting my journey there in Grand Rapids. So I'll still be around as much as I can. And my ultimate goal is pediatrics. I want to be a pediatrician and to work with kids. And how Community Ministries has always helped with that is I've worked with kids all 5 years, and I've developed those relationships. And it was like understanding all those different things that they are dealing with outside of the program and dealing with more than just who they are on that Wednesday. It's dealing with all of their environment and acknowledging that every kid is different, every situation is different, and seeing that as a future doctor is super important, and it will help me like apply that to my practice in the future. So I think it's just helped create a foundation in building relationships with kids.
Would you recommend this program to other people who are going into the field of medicine? Because it is somewhat of an outlier, but that's a good experience. You're saying experience working. Would you recommend that?
I definitely would, because you're making relationships with people. Like as a doctor, you are working with people. You are trying to save people, and like you can't do that if you can't build a relationship with them. Like that's very important. You have to build trust with people to be able to practice with them. So it's very important, and I feel like this provides a way to build a relationship with people you normally wouldn't build a relationship with. And
that's the unique thing is there, within diversity within the kids we see is socioeconomic, racial, every aspect, every home life situation, good, bad, and ugly. All those things are represented in the children we work with, and creating a positive experience when you have all those different moving pieces. I think it does give you a real insight into children, but also families and the different struggles that they have and what they're facing as well. So that's all we have, but we wanted to say thank you for Bella for all of her time and service with us, and really appreciate all the work she's done, and hope you enjoyed this interview and just learning a little bit more about one of our volunteers. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.